Hey everyone, welcome back to this episode of Dating with Purpose. I'm Ashley Empowers, and I just wanted to pop in and let you know that Dating with Purpose is now a podcast. You guys, I am so excited. We have incredible interviews coming up, and you'll be able to listen to this episode today here on YouTube. But I want to encourage you to click the link in the description box and subscribe to the Dating with Purpose podcast. Our mission and our goal is to have this message reach across the entire globe, and we need your support. So definitely click below in the description box to subscribe to the podcast, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of Dating with Purpose. I'm your host, Ashley Empowers, and in this series, I interview and highlight couples and individuals who are dating with purpose to inspire this generation to pursue healthy relationships with God at the center.
Recognize real, you ain't real, I don't recognize you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Dating with Purpose. I have great news. Today is a special edition of Dating with Purpose. I'm actually going to be interviewing someone for single, saved, and secure. So many of you guys know that I interview married couples and couples that are dating with purpose, but I also love to hear from singles who are using this season to live a purpose-driven life. And so today I have the opportunity to interview Cyrus, and he will be sharing his journey on being single, saved, and secure. So, welcome to the program. I'm so happy to be interviewing you today.
Likewise, and I just wanted to give you a special shout out. I love what you're doing. I love the brand, and I love what you're doing to help young women and young men find purpose in dating. So kudos to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, will you tell listeners just a little bit about yourself, what you do, and just your journey on being single, saved, and secure?
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, my name is Cyrus. I have a business here. I have a financial planning practice here in Dallas. Born and raised in Pompano Beach, Florida, in like the Miami area by Fort Lauderdale. Been living in Dallas for a little over 4 years now. So I originally relocated here for a job back in the end of 2014, working with Fidelity Investments. One thing led to another. Decided to branch out from corporate and built my own practice. You know, done a lot of things with my practice. Took off fast, won some awards, so forth and so forth. So, I'm just very fortunate that God has allowed it to get to that point. But to your question, as it pertains to like just being single, saved, and secure, that's a really good question. I feel like a lot of times, especially like in the church, we think that, how can I say it? Like it's always glitter and glamorous, right? So I would be remiss if I didn't keep it all the way real. So when I say all the way real, I mean, a lot of times we like to talk about the goods, but we don't want to talk. We kind of skip over and gloss past like the mistakes that we made on our journey being single, slave, and secure. So for me, I didn't do anything too crazy. I don't have this testimony like, oh, I did this, but God, I didn't get anyone pregnant. but,
Okay.
but just from my story, I've made some bonehead mistakes when it came to dating. I dated a lot of women because I wasn't secure. I was single and I was still saved, but one of the links was missing, right? So a lot of times when we're waiting, we start to maybe date for potential or date for the sake of that's the best option available. So, I made a lot of bonehead mistakes in dating, dated a lot of women that wasn't aligned to my purpose. They made it look good from the outside looking in, but once you really got close and really started to learn that person, you saw the red flags from a mile away, but because you weren't secure in your singleness, you decided to give it a shot and it became a disaster. So I've had a couple of those along my way, but now I'm really in a place where I'm just really content in waiting on what God has for me, because in order for me to fulfill the purpose that he has for me, whether it be through my business or through my ministry, I have to have a special woman that he is designed exactly and specifically for me. So that's me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so there are so many women who are preparing for marriage. As a man, do you think men aren't as proactive with their marriage development as women are? Like, are you reading books on how to become a great husband, or are you just trusting the process?
I think for me, my unique situation, it's a little bit of both. But I will agree, we as men, we're not as connected with our emotions, so we don't prepare. We kind of have this go with the flow mindset. And I really believe it comes from, just being in athletics, right? Being in athletics, we're kind of taught to kind of just go with the flow with emotions. I mean, we might prepare for the opponent that's at hand, but when it comes to dating and relationships, we kind of have a different caveat to it. But I think for me right
Mm,
now, it's really been intentional on really learning not only how I like to be loved, but really being concerned with that person and how they want to be loved and how they want to be treated. Because I think a lot of times, I'm just speaking for myself. I can't speak for the whole man population in the world, but I used to have a really bad habit of trying to love every woman the same, right? I'll be dating someone, they would be like, "Well, I feel like you don't listen to me." Then I would say, "But I'm always hanging out with you. I'm giving you quality time, right? Isn't that what you want?" And she said, "No, I just want you to listen to me. I just want you to actually hear what I'm saying." So really in this season of my life, I'm really learning to just be attentive to, okay, what is that person's love language so that they can be loved the way that they need to be loved so that I can be the best, potential spouse one day when the Lord brings the person that he has for me that I can be.
absolutely. So you personally, did you grow up in a two-parent household? What was your living situation growing up? Were you able to witness positive examples of healthy relationships?
So a little bit about my background, growing up in Pompano Beach, Florida, pretty much like if you ever watch First 48, that's pretty much where it's aired a lot in that Miami area. So,
Wow.
there were no positive examples whatsoever in my neighborhood, in my community. Maybe if I had to choose one, I could probably say the closest example that I had was there was a pastor and a first lady in my community. In every black community in the hood, you got that one example, like Pastor John and Miss Thelma May was probably, I would say, like the only example of a two-parent household that I ever saw. So I will say when it came to dating,
Mm.
that did attribute to some of my pitfalls early on in dating. And then as I got older, as I started to mature as a man, I started to really retract back towards my childhood to really see like the brokenness and all the things that I saw growing up, how it severely affected all of my previous and past relationships. So
Yeah. So how does that change your perspective moving forward? Like, do you have, well, okay. So first off, being in the financial planning industry, I see that you're very proactive when it comes to teaching people on the importance of building generational wealth. And you yourself, I can tell that you're really motivated in that area. Do you have that same motivation when it comes to your wife one day and building a family and creating a positive generational legacy when it comes to family?
absolutely, one of my greatest desires is to do something within my family tree that breaks the curse. Because in my family, I'm the first. I'm like the first to do everything. The first to graduate
Wow.
high school, first to graduate college. I desire to be the first to have a positive and healthy relationship. So the first to build a business, the first to, create a lineage, a legacy to where every individual that comes after me, they can excel at in every area, whether it's emotionally, whether it's spiritually, because that's a really one big link missing my family because I didn't grow up in the church. That I didn't grow up in a religious
Mm.
atmosphere growing up. So when I look at the fact that I'm saved today, like I know it was nothing but like the grace of God. And I knew that he truly pursued me. When I look back over my life, I look at where I've been to where I am now. I knew it was all God. So when it comes to loving my wife and my greatest desire, I'm not gonna sit up here and make it seem as though like I'm perfect. But however, my greatest desire is, one day when I am married, is to be that example, that biblical example, that legacies and lineages after me they can look up to and say, okay, I have an example to look up to. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And just out of curiosity, because I myself, I didn't grow up in church either, and I got on this journey on my own. But what sparked this for you? Because a lot of people grow up in these situations, like you said, first 48 environment. There's generational cycles of people pursuing a negative lifestyle that's not fruitful. What caused you to start making different choices?
I would say, by the grace of God, I'm thankful that I did have an athletic talent. So
What sport did you play?
track and field and football. So that that was like my, I guess you would say, like my piece, and I really didn't start to develop that talent until maybe I would say my junior year of high school. So I would say what really got the ball rolling was, it was an unfortunate event, but it was kind of like a God event at the same time. So, growing up, I was a knucklehead. I ran the streets. I did a lot of things I'm not too proud of. So I ended up leaving this school in the hood called Deerfield Beach High School, and I couldn't go to that school anymore because being a knucklehead, they said I couldn't come back. So I ended up transferring to Boca Raton Community High School, and at that time, it was kind of like a culture shock. Like coming from a hood school, middle projects, to this white school where all the kids drove Benzes, kids had BMWs, all the kids were going to Harvard, Princeton, you name it. And it just being in that environment kind of like,
Mm,
it kind of changed something in me because that was the first time in my life I was exposed to different cultures, different of opinions, different ways that people thought, people actually studying for the first time. I never saw that growing up, like study
yeah.
groups in 11th grade. That was like, where they do that. So for me, that kind of like sowed a seed to kind of get me on that path. And then football and track allowed for me to go to college, play sports. And then that's kind of like in college where I found God. Just I remember like it was yesterday. I was on campus, and there was this Christian organization called InterVarsity. Not sure if you're familiar with InterVarsity or if they had a chapter on your campus,
Hmm. No, I've
but
never heard of it. Hmm.
so that's kind of like like my pathway, how I really started to get on track with God. It didn't happen overnight, of course, but I would say I really started to get more serious in my walk. I would say middle of 2012, and I actually got baptized June 6, 2012. So that's really when things started to take off for me. And voila, like by the grace of God, businessman, like I never would have thought I would put on a suit. Like to be honest with you, if you look at my Instagram, and you look at who I was before 2011, like 2012 was the first time I ever wore a suit. Like I never wore a suit before 2012. So like a
Wow.
lot of people don't know that about me though. You couldn't tell by just looking at me. So
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And definitely, because when I've been on your Instagram, it's like most of your pictures, almost all of them, it looks like you have on a suit. So I would have never thought you didn't always have that knowledge of presenting yourself that way up until recently. So, yeah, that's awesome. Well, Will, so because you've been on this journey, you are building your relationship with God, just working on yourself as a man. What do you look for in a future wife?
ooh, that's a good question. You might get me in trouble and have girls out here trying to present themselves the way that they think that I want them to be. hmm. I will say this though. I'll keep it like short and sweet. Like my biggest thing now in this season of my life is just having a spouse that understands me emotionally. I'm not saying she has to be perfect. She gotta do this or do that, but my biggest thing is like, is she humble? Is she meek? How does she treat other people? I'm more so concerned with like her overall character these days, as opposed to, it's her hair slayed, she got her weave on, she got her makeup. I used to be like that. I used to be very pretentious, if I can admit. But now I'm starting to realize that, for one, for me, wanting to build a business, multi-billion-dollar corporation, that's my mindset now. It's going to take us specific type of woman to be able to walk with me through the highs and the lows, because I will go through those. So, this might sound a little funny, but Beyonce weave and Sephora is not gonna pick me up when I'm at my lowest of my lows. So, my biggest thing is, okay,
Hmm.
what is her character
Yeah.
like? Because does she have a prayer life? What happens if she gets cancer, I get cancer, or one of the kids gets sick, whatever the case may be. Like, I need a woman of character in that moment, a woman that that knows where our help comes from. It doesn't come from us; it comes from God. So that's really the biggest intangible. I can't really present a long list of she got to have this, she got to have that. The biggest thing for me, character, and that can be a lot of things. So
Definitely. Yeah. So, and Will, how old are you?
27.
27. Okay. So, with all of the God fearing single women who are looking for a husband, why do you feel you're still single when there are so many options of women who are just ready to get married?
Like, this might sound funny, but like sometimes I just be like sitting and laughing. I'd be like, man, I think like my wife, she has a strong prayer life, and like every woman that walks up to me, they like run away because she maybe prayed against them. I don't know, but your guess is as good as mine, because you're right. Like, I'm not gonna say that's every woman's dream. However, a lot of women think a lot about it. I'll say it that way, because I don't want to make it seem like women are just so thirsty to get married.
Exactly. Yeah.
But honestly, that might be it, because I present myself well. I got a lot of good things going for myself. But for whatever reason, I'm pretty sure God is in the midst of it too. It never seems to work out. Like, maybe God is just looking out for me, like, Will, that ain't her. Redirect.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. No, no, that's great. I love that you mentioned maybe it's your future wife just really praying that, that you stay patient until God brings you guys together. I love that. Well, Will, as we wrap up, can you give one piece of advice to those that are listening who are single and they're discontent in this season? What advice could you give them to really just enjoy this season and live it to the full while they're waiting on who God has for them?
I would say for me, the biggest thing is, it may sound cliches, it may sound churchy, but it's really just patience. So, and what I mean by that is, if I look back at some of the people that I dated, and had I actually went through with some of them, I'm 99.99.9999% sure I would be divorced right now. So I think it's just patience and just trusting that, okay, God has this magnificent person built and designed for the purpose in which He has for you to walk into, whether it's a business, whether it's building a ministry, whatever that looks like. It's a little different for everyone, but just being patient and understanding that you two are going to come together, build the kingdom for His glory in whatever way, shape, or form that looks like. I can't really necessarily say that, but just being patient. And that's what I'm learning to do, is to say, hey, Will, you know, every woman isn't designed to walk in the places in which God is going to take you. And just having that mindset to just say, hey, man, you're royalty. Like, you have something great God has designed for you. And every buster for a female can't walk in those places. And for a guy, not every female is going to be privileged enough to go in the places in which God's going to take you. So,
That's good. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Will, I know on your social media, you share a lot of great tips on building generational wealth and being a wise steward over your finances. Where can people follow you or find out more about what you're doing?
you can reach me. I was going to say something funny, but I said, let me just stop that there. I was going to say you can call on Tyrone. But on a serious note, you can follow me on Instagram at Cyrus, no relation to Miley. It's CY, C as in cat, Y as in yo-yo, R as in rabbit, U as in umbrella, S as in Sam, Cyrus underscore financials. Financials is plural with an S. That's my Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook, Will Cyrus. or you can follow me on LinkedIn. And also my website is financials, once again, that's plural, by Cyrus.com. You can reach out to me for a free 15-minute consultation. So that's my contact info.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. So, you guys, I will link all of Will's information in the show notes below. But thank you, Will, so much for your time. And thank you for sharing your journey. I'm sure it's going to inspire those that are listening. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time. If you like this podcast, be sure to rate it on iTunes in your favorite podcast platform. Of course, I'd love it if you gave us 5 stars. And be sure to order your free copy of my new book, Dating with Purpose, a story on how God turned a hot mess into a housewife, shipped directly to you for free. You can get your copy at dwpbook.com.
Recognize real, you ain't real, I don't recognize you.